But before we really get started, what I did was in my basement here, I've got just one thing that is a collectible from the 1980s, and I've got two things right beside me that are not collectibles from the 80s, but they're still Star Wars related. So I'm going to actually hit the button on one here, and hopefully you guys can pick up the sound.
Yeah.
Is that the vintage collectible or is that the newer collectible?
It is a newer collectible. It's the Star Wars Collector's Bank. Obviously it's got Darth Vader on it, and he moves around and he's got a little lightsaber that lights up. The lightsaber actually is busted, but I just love the sound effect. So hopefully you guys heard that fine.
Yeah, no, that came out great. I thought it was a Christmas ornament. I have a Darth Vader Christmas ornament that's probably about 10, 12 years old that has that same quote.
Oh, okay. And the second one, before we even actually get into talking, but I wanted to play my sound effects first. So hold on to the next one here.
Human cyborg relations, and this is my counterpart, R2-D2.
No idea what toy that is.
That's another bank. This time it has C-3PO and R2-D2.
Nice.
Yeah, so hopefully the sound came across fine. We'll find out when we play it back, though. But I seldom get a chance to bring those out, for the light of day. So I wanted to, geek out on them tonight. To say that, at least press the button and they work.
I was trying to do the same thing. I pulled out a lot of my vintage spaceships last night. I put batteries in them, and nothing.
Oh, ouch.
Really? Oh, that's sad.
Sword of Omens, give me sight beyond sight.
Greetings, Starfighter. You are about to listen to the totally super awesome 80's Reboot Overdrive podcast. Always remember, no matter where you go, there you are. Ready Player One.
All right, welcome 80s fans. You are joining us for another episode of 80's Reboot Overdrive. And on this one, we are expanding our talk of Star Wars love in the 80s to just those extra things that came out alongside all the movies. So we're talking about extra TV shows, cartoons, Burger King collector cups, action figures, the Gambit. Do our best to just try to, I don't know, even see if we can wrap this up in an hour. We'll find out. On the show today, I'm Dave, and I've got co-host Tim on.
Hey everybody, broadcasting live from the Outer Rim tonight.
So I think last time you were on Beggar's Canyon, so now you've moved on.
Yes, I traveled at light speed.
Outstanding. And Scott's on.
Yeah, I have nothing. I have no clever quotes today. I don't know. I was not prepared for that.
Well, before we fully get started,
Hey Dave, should
yeah.
we explain that Nick was here last time, but he's now frozen in carbonite?
Oh, nice.
He is in carbonite, and I think one of us is going to have to do like a little recon mission to kind of wait there for a few weeks or months or whatever, and then we'll send in, I don't know, the token woman that we have in the group, which we really don't have, and she'll free him. I don't know. I don't know where I was going with that. She'll be turned into a slave for a little bit, and then there'll be some Jedi stuff going on. It'll be cool. But yeah, we'll get Nick out of there.
We'll get him.
Nice.
To get us started, I want to let pretty much my co-hosts and my listeners know that I'm willing to torture myself for the sake of this podcast, and I'm going to explain to you what happened here. I know back in 1978 I'd seen the holiday special.
Here we go.
But I thought to myself, you know what? Maybe my mind blanked out and I had, not had a lot of the details as much as I thought I should remember. So I decided to bring that bad boy up and I watched the hour and a half on my phone. I think there's maybe a few of the songs I fast forwarded through. So I brought it up on YouTube. So if anybody is interested, you can Google that and bring it up on YouTube and relive the glory that is the Star Wars Holiday Special. To say that it was a bit torturous to get through in my 2015 mentality is kind of an understatement.
It's rough.
It was challenging to get through. I'm sure it was more enjoyable from my, the 1978 Dave versus my 2015 Dave. But for the sake of having my, history aligned for the sake of our podcast, I figured I had to give it another go and hope for the best. And what I took out of it and what I wanted to just kind of convey is that if I were to apply the same kind of logic that I had used for being able to defend Xanadu, then okay, it works. Because from a late 70s perspective, I think it probably worked fine. It wasn't the best story, wasn't the best acting, but if you looked at the music video that they inserted into it and what they were trying to do from a late 70s perspective, it might have worked for what they were trying to accomplish. But I cannot give it a thumbs up by any means. I do not recommend anybody watching it. So, what do you guys think of the holiday special now that I ranted?
I honestly have no recollection of watching it as a kid. I know I did, I just don't remember it. Actually bought it on DVD from a comic book store in downtown Chicago about 15 years ago. And I was pretty excited. I mean, clearly it was a bootleg, but I bought it anyway. But it was surprisingly good condition. And oh my gosh, was it brutal. I mean, it's just silly. And it's very hard to watch. But the saving grace to me was the Boba Fett cartoon.
Yes.
But I've had no desire whatsoever to pull it out and watch it again since I got it 15 years ago.
Okay, so...
Yeah, come on, Scott. Lay it on us.
I'm a lover of all things cheesy like that. I know it's brutal, it's rough, but I love watching it because it's so bad. I appreciate that side of it. I know it's crazy. I mean, how can you discount this all-star cast? You have B. Arthur, right?
And I actually fast-forwarded past her song.
Harvey Korman, right?
Yeah, okay.
I mean, You've got, there's many others in there that are just like little cameos that are hysterical. But I think the worst part of it is like the first 15, 20 minutes where you have to read subtitles of the Wookiees talking, and that weird little fantasy that the grandpa Wookiee goes into with I can't remember who the singer was.
I know who you're talking about, but no, I don't remember either.
Yeah. Oh, it's just it really was one of the cheesiest things ever. Another thing that was helpful on the DVD that I got a copy of was the commercials, some of the old commercials that came along with it. Now I know you can watch all those on YouTube now, and I've seen a few of them. It's very fun to watch. But the Boba Fett cartoon was helpful. But I remember this as a kid when it came out, and the only thing I could remember was that they were on Chewbacca's home planet for some event. Like over the years, all the memories of it kind of faded, except that one that it was on Chewbacca's planet for this event, and
for Life Day.
Yeah, for Life Day. I just didn't realize that until I got a copy of, because I always thought about it. I'm like, man, I wonder whatever happened to that one show where it was like nobody knows about it. Nobody could ever. I would tell people, I'm like, there was this one thing that Star Wars had out, and it was about Chewbacca and his planet. and everybody looked at me all weird, like they'd never seen it or even heard of it. So I thought I might have been out of my mind for a while and imagined it, playing with all the toys. I kind of made it up, I guess. But then this guy that surpasses anybody that I know as far as the love of Star Wars, he's got like a huge room in his basement dedicated to he's got every collectible that you can imagine. He gave me a copy of this DVD and I about fell over. I was so excited to go home and watch it. And this is like maybe 6-7 years ago. And I put it in and I was like, oh my gosh, this is so bad, but it's so 70s, and I like a lot of things about the 70s that are cheesy. So that is my rant and my ramble on about the holiday special.
So you're advocating you like the holiday special?
Yes, I do.
You're going on record of the podcast to say that
I'm going on record that I actually like it.
And you gave me a hard time about Xanadu. I just do not understand what it is that we're going through right here, Scott. I really don't.
Can we just follow back on the agreement on the one thing that we do agree on, and that's Valley Girl?
Okay, there you go. There you go.
No, it was crazy, and it's something special, and I'm not surprised that Lucas didn't want anything to do with it after it was released. I heard he had his name removed from it altogether. Not shocking by any means, and it was a TV special too. That was kind of cool.
And it actually preempted Incredible Hulk. I'd found that out. But so how many times have you rewatched this thing?
Oh, after I got the DVD, probably 3 times.
Oh my God, you're on drugs. Anyway, all right. Moving on.
Besides the point. It was. I just. It's almost like one of those train wreck type shows. Where you can't not watch it because it's so bad.
I hate to beat the horse here, but I mean when there's a train wreck, it's not like I keep putting in the same train wreck to have over and over again. I'll look at it as I drive by. I might slow down and do the whole rubberneck thing, but that doesn't mean I've got to replay that train wreck over and over again.
Unfortunately, there's another movie. It's not Star Wars related at all. It was made in 1966 called Green Slime. That is one of the cheesiest science fiction movies ever made, with really bad special effects that I've watched several times over.
Wow. Okay. All right. So rather than us having a whole episode discussing the holiday special, Tim, what was your favorite collectible from back then?
Remember, of course they had the millions of the little action figures, right? But then they also came out with a series of like full G.I. Joe sized 12 or 13 inch tall figures.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
The one was the Boba Fett from that series. I still have that in my basement. It's still fully intact, and that was definitely the favorite thing of mine. And, that got a lot of serious playtime with my friends and I back then. That was a durable and very cool toy.
Did he have any kind of extra accessories, or was it just the figure itself?
No, he's got a detachable rocket pack. Now it doesn't shoot out like the super rare little one, but
yeah,
it had some, not fishing but thread, I guess. So you could like pull the rocket out, and if you held one side of the thread with your right hand and the tip of the rocket with your left hand and moved back and forth like Boba Fett would slide back and forth on the string. And he had, of course, a rifle and Wookiee scalps hanging over his shoulder, which was just thread and some beads, but it was supposed to be Wookiee scalps. And he had like a little cape, and he had, I don't know if you remember the old $6 Million Man action figure where you could look through his eye.
Yeah.
The Boba Fett had the same thing. One of his eyes, you could look through it. And the little antenna on the side of his head, I don't know what that's supposed to be, if it's really like a radio receiver or if it's something to do with targeting computer in his helmet or whatever, but that thing moved back and forth. So it was actually pretty cool. It was fully articulated, knees, wrists, elbows, ankles, everything. It was very cool. I still have it.
That is pretty cool.
You still have it, you said?
Yep, on the shelf.
It has all the accessories and everything?
Yeah, my cat's knocked it over a few times, but he's managed to come through. It's that Mandalorian battle armor keeps him safe.
Can you post a picture of that?
Yeah, sure.
That would be awesome.
How about
'Cause
you,
I'd love
Dave?
to see it. I don't remember that one at all. I remember the larger size figures, but I never got into those. I think we played mostly with the smaller figures, the regular size, not the micro, but the
Yeah,
regular.
like
what are
the
they,
G.I. Joe
4
size
inch,
ones.
Right.
3.5, 4 inch,
Right.
something like that.
Yeah, no, I think that was everyone's staple. But my circle of friends, we had a few. We had a handful of the larger ones.
So now, how did you maintain keeping all the pieces?
Well, for that one in particular, I never packed him away. He's always been out, so I never, the more you futz with stuff, the better chance you have of losing it. Well, he's just been on the shelf for decades. So some of the other little ones, now we're talking, that's a different story. But the vinyl capes getting torn and the blasters getting lost and the little lightsabers disappearing and stuff like that. But no, the big ones, you tend not to play with them as much either as you get older. They're just kind of there.
Yeah, I miss a lot of that stuff. I wish I still had a few of them just to look at. I've got nothing actually from that time of when I was growing up. I do have I have a few things that I've gotten over the years. Just randomly, somebody recently, just before I moved down here, gave me the C-3PO and R2-D2 glass from Burger King, because he had like 4 or 5 of them. He's like, "Yeah, man, go ahead, take it." So that
From
was very cool.
which movie?
I'd have to grab it off the shelf and take a look at it. I think it's the first one.
Okay, New Hope. Cool.
Yes. Sorry, we have to clarify. Number 4.
No, did I say first movie? I didn't mean episode 1.
No, I said first movie. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, there's and I have a couple other little odds and ends that I've gotten over the years. Like my mother-in-law knows that I'm a big Star Wars fan and gave me a set of Pez dispensers with all the characters. Like 8 different Pez dispensers with the characters, and then I have a giant C-3PO Pez dispenser that actually spits out whole rolls of Pez, not just one at a time. And it makes some kind of noise. I think it talks. I think C-3PO talks a couple times in it. Has a couple phrases or something. Those are both buried away in a box right now. And then the one other thing that I do have that's probably the rarest is we're going back to Christmas now, is the Star Wars Christmas album, holiday Christmas album, that I'd never seen before, and my wife got it at a garage sale in a pack of she picked up. I was collecting records. I still have a bunch, and it's the actual vinyl, and it's the Star Wars Christmas album, and it's pretty awesome actually.
So is it the same songs from the holiday special?
No, it's not.
Okay.
It's totally different.
Okay.
And C-3PO talks in it, randomly about different things, which is really weird because it talks about Christmas and it's got Santa on the front of the cover. It's really bizarre. I'll have to post a picture of that one too. It's pretty cool. So yeah, she got it in a pack. She bought 20 albums in one box for $2, and this one was in there. That's a find, man. That is a find. Oh, and then my wife did get me something really cool. Sorry to monopolize. This is all that I've had. My wife bought me a few years ago. She bought me the Millennium Falcon. I don't remember what scale it was, but it had to be about 20 inches wide, 24. It's pretty good size, and it had a bunch of sounds on it and stuff. Came with Han Solo and Chewbacca. It's pretty cool.
Do you remember what movie that was from?
She got it for me just a few years ago.
So it's not like it was in the packaging.
No. It was not original. I mean, it came in a box. She ordered it online, and it came. It was brand new.
Oh, okay.
So it was a newer release. It didn't look anything like the originals that they had back in the 80s.
But it sounds about the same size.
It was a little bit bigger. It's a little bit bigger. It's one. It'd be one ratio up or whatever. Whatever you would call that. I don't know.
Because I busted out, because I have the Millennium Falcon from when I was, 1978, so it would have come out when the first Star Wars movie was in theaters, the first big giant rush of toys and stuff. And I pulled it out to show it to my daughter because she's actually doing a project for school involving the Millennium Falcon. So I just wanted to check
Really?
it out for reference.
What is
And,
she doing in school with the Millennium Falcon?
Well, the kids had to read a book, and so she chose to read the novelization of the first Star Wars movie. And then they have to design a cereal box using elements of the book that they read. So she's making Millennium Falcon flakes.
Love it.
That is awesome.
But that thing, it's funny, she pointed out, because I pulled my Millennium Falcon toy out of the box, and it's, of course it's discolored because it's however many decades old, it's a little dusty, and she says, wow, it actually looks like the real ship now.
It's a bucket of bolts. What a hunk of junk.
But that toy, that's right up there. The Boba Fett and the Millennium Falcon, there's 1A and 1B, because the Falcon was so cool. That was before the Walker toy came out, and before the Star or the Death Star play set, all those big toys. The Falcon was like the first big toy that I remember. And that thing is it's so cool. And it's about the same size, Scott, that you were just saying, about 24 inches wide, maybe 30 inches long. I don't know. But it's a good size.
Yeah, I don't know. It seems, because I had the original one too back in the day. This one just seemed maybe 6 or 8 inches bigger from side to side or so. It just seemed that way. I could be wrong. It could be the same size, but it felt like it was a little bit bigger.
Well, it sounds like it's not a toy. I mean, it's an adult-sized, manly collectible now, right? It's not a toy.
Exactly.
Not a toy.
No. How about you, Dave?
I guess this deserves a little setup. Back when The Empire Strikes Back came out, what would routinely happen is that my mom would give us like the J.C. Penney catalog, and she'd have us circle what it is that we wanted for Christmas. And back then, at that time, of course, as every 80s boy, was really into the whole, Star Wars thing. She had no idea which ones I already had, which ones I didn't have, so I would go in and circle which ones I wanted. Mm-hmm. And then she ended up, getting me the ones that I had circled that was within her budget, and then also a collector case. And so this was back in 83, 84. Oh, no, I'm sorry, 80. So from 1980, we had moved from our original town. We went to a new town. And then from there, I joined the Navy at 18. And then I'd been kind of always on the move since then until I, landed in Chicago. And then I've been living there ever since 97. So through all of that transition, through all of that moving and coming and going and paying for storage, I have kept my Darth Vader collector case, which is sitting right here on my lap right now, with all of the figures that I had at the time. So I've gotten, the ones that I had taken, and I had little stickers and put, their names on the front of them, so just in case I ever forget, which I haven't, luckily. And some of the accessories I still have in the little accessory storage chamber, which also has the Yoda figure. So I'm actually looking at my collection right now of what I had from The Empire Strikes Back, and I'm amazed that through all of those moves and throughout all the years, somehow this has remained in my stuff.
Yeah, I really wish I could say the same, because I had a ton of it. Especially like the trading cards. I think those would be really cool to have, like the ones we were talking about the last episode.
Right.
With the different colored series. They had like, I don't know, I think it was 4 or 5 different colored series.
Scott, it's cool you mentioned this. I don't mean to cut you off, but I got to tell you, I was at the bookstore the other day. Mm-hmm. At a real live bookstore with actual bound printed books. And,
what's that?
I was looking in the sci-fi section, and they actually have now. I didn't check the copyright date of the book. I don't know if it's brand new or whatever, but they have a smaller hardcover book with reprints of all the trading card images, all the series. And I think the cover of the book I was looking at said Volume 1. So how whatever, there's 2 or 3 volumes or whatever. But the Volume 1 that I was looking at had the green ones, the yellow ones, the blue ones, and it was cool because it showed the fronts of all the cards. And it also showed, if you remember, there was a series of stickers, too. It showed all the stickers. And then some of the card backs had, like, you could put them together to form a puzzle. Well, they showed what
Yep.
all the complete puzzles looked like. It was a cool wealth of information on those old trading cards.
Yeah, I like the little blurbs that they had on the back. A lot of them, like we were talking about before. The ages of Yoda or Chewbacca or whatever, and where he came from, or stuff like that. It was really cool. But there was one specific set that my brother and we were always like very protective of this one set because it was only like 10 cards in the whole set, and it was a black series, and we knew that it was like very rare and nobody else had them, and I don't even remember how we got them, where they came from, like if they came in a pack from the store, if we got them collecting certain figures or something like that. But there were 10 of them, and they were just like more elite than the rest of all the other ones, because the other ones just came, copy after copy after copy, and we had duplicates and triplicates of like almost all of them. It was ridiculous.
I think there was also like a mini series of cards that came on boxes of Twinkies.
Oh, really?
Where you buy a case of 6 packs of Twinkies or whatever, and they would come in a small cardboard box about the size of a shoebox. And on the bottom of the shoebox, there were cards that you could cut out. And those are detailed in the book, too. And those might have been the black border ones you're talking about.
I wonder. That might take a little bit of research to figure that one out, where those came from. So you said that there's a book.
Yeah, an actual book.
This thing you call a book. All right, I'm going to have to look for that.
But Dave, with your Darth Vader case, it cracked me up what you said. You stuffed Yoda in the accessory compartment, because
Yes.
I have that case too, and right, there was no space for the Yoda figure, but he sure did fit in that accessory compartment. I think I did the same thing with mine. That's hilarious.
Yeah, and looking at it now, there are definitely some guns missing, and that was why I alluded to the question about if you still had all your accessories with the big Boba Fett. Because I know that I'm missing some, from these guys. But there are some, lightsabers, and there are some guns in the accessory storage case. Chamber. It's called a chamber, I'm sorry.
It's a chamber.
Yes.
You said you have the Yoda? Do you still have the little snake that came on him, too?
I do, right here.
Wow.
He still got his little belt, too.
How about the walking stick?
The walking stick? No, I do not have the walking stick.
Now, was he the one that actually had like a cloth?
Yes.
Versus the vinyl, like most of the other capes were vinyl.
Right,
Or
exactly. Right,
plastic.
his is like
That
a
was
little
the only one, like
clothy.
cloth, yeah.
Right.
Wasn't it the Jawa figure? There were 2 versions, right? There was one with the vinyl cape and one with the little dark brown fabric pullover. I think there were 2 types of Jawas.
I vaguely remember that, but I think you're right.
Like the original Obi-Wan and Darth Vader and Princess Leia in her Bespin outfit and the Lando Calrissian, they all had the vinyl capes.
Yep,
Mhm.
they certainly do. I'm looking at them now.
Didn't the original the Princess Leia, the cinnamon bun head Princess Leia, she had the white vinyl too, right?
She did. Yes.
How many figures do you have in front of you right now?
I have 28.
Wow. That's a pretty good collection.
And then Yoda stuffed in a crawl space makes 29, right?
No, that was 28 including Yoda.
Oh, okay.
So I actually have an empty spot that never actually had a sticker or a figure.
Wow.
But yeah, I'm looking
see if I
down
can
here. I got a
see if we can guess a
Stormtrooper. Or go ahead. Yeah, go ahead and guess.
Do you have Snaggletooth?
I do have Snaggletooth, yes.
Nice.
That was another one.
The short one or the tall one?
Yeah,
Short.
that was,
He's short.
right.
In comparison to, like, Boba Fett.
Yeah,
Yeah,
he's like he's child size almost.
Yes.
There
Yes.
were 2 of those. There was a taller one, like a
Yes.
rare one where he's in like a blue outfit, and then there's a shorter one. He's got like that weird, like purplish.
Yes, I remember that.
Right.
The taller and the two different sizes they came in.
Yeah,
and
mine
the
is
tall one was the hard one to find. Yeah.
Yeah, mine's like the purplish maroon color outfit.
So Tim, can I ask how old are you again?
I am 44.
44. Okay. Do you remember? And you too, Dave. I mean, you're about the same. We're all pretty close in age. I am the elder, though, so don't sass me.
All right, old man.
Do you guys remember the hype of each new figure that was coming out? Like when they were only going to release, they only had like a couple at a time where people would like wait in line to get the new figure that was coming out.
No, I don't remember it working like that where I live.
No, me either.
Yeah, where we were in Southern California, I remember that happening. I remember like hearing about the new one that's going to come out. I don't remember how we heard about it, what grapevine that came through, because before the internet, and I just don't remember how we heard about it, but somehow we knew that they were coming out with a new one, a new figure or whatever it was, be it the snow trooper from the Hoth or something along those lines. But we knew that they were coming out. We waited in line for those. My mom waited in line for a couple of those for us.
I remember them coming out in waves. Like I remember going into the toy store before Empire came out, and I beelined right for the Star Wars section, and I remember seeing the Lando Calrissian figure, and I had no idea who that was because I didn't really know anything about Empire Strikes Back. And I was just like, oh, wow! They're giving hints about the movie by looking at the toys ahead of time. That's crazy.
Mm-hmm.
But there were a bunch. I don't know, whatever. 10 figures or whatever, and then 5 more came out.
I remember some of that too, where they came out in waves, but I remember there were specific ones that we were looking for, and I could have sworn they were like released separately, but I could be wrong about that. I mean, we're talking 30 years ago, so the memories are fading, and it was quite a phenomenon. I remember that.
Well, there was the whole thing, right, when they first came out, right? They weren't even available, and they underestimated the demand, so they gave you, you could order an empty box or something, right?
Yeah.
And then the Boba Fett was like a limited edition thing. Didn't you have to collect proofs of purchase and send in to get the Boba Fett missile? And then there was I don't know, I guess it's real, or is it a wives' tale about some kid swallowed the missile, and then they had to remake the toys with the missile fused in there, it wouldn't shoot out, right? There were other figures like that where you had to collect something and send it in order to get the figure. I really remember that Boba Fett as being the main one.
Yeah, I recall those kind of things too. Special edition, special releases that you had to have so many proofs of purchase, right? You'd cut out the little thing on the box itself that said proof of purchase, right?
Yeah.
There was, I don't know if you even see that on anything anymore, proof of purchase. It's just the barcode.
So does anybody have the Boba Fett that actually shoots?
No, I do not. I've got the stationary Boba Fett.
I've never even seen one. Back in the day, I never knew anybody that had one. I wonder how many of those were actually made.
But honestly, looking at them, I mean, it looks like the mechanism was there, to do it. But it's like somebody decided to super glue it in.
Yeah.
For safety's sake, I'm sure.
Yeah, I don't remember. I'd have to call my brother. He would probably remember that if we had the one that had the missile that shot, or if we got it after they changed it.
And as you guys were talking, I was trying to, find out if our Twitter shout out, would help us with kind of figuring out how the news came out about the action figures that are going to be released. And Matt Duck at 21 on Twitter says he really likes the Luke Skywalker Stormtrooper figure in Burger King glasses, but he also loved reading Bantha Tracks as a kid. So I actually looked up what Bantha Tracks was. Did you guys know what that is?
No.
Is it an old fanzine or something?
It was actually the Star Wars official fan club magazine.
Nice.
So what they would do is they would have a newsletter that would come out quarterly. And Bantha Tracks was, I guess, after the 5th official Star Wars fan club magazine or newsletter, they had a contest, that they kicked off at the beginning of it, asking, readers to name the newsletter, and then they landed at Bantha Tracks. So you could actually become a Star Wars fan club member for the price of $12 plus $1.50 postage and handling. And what it would actually get you is, and this was from 1978.
But you said it was over $12 in 1978 money?
Yes, $12 plus $1.50 postage and handling. You would get a full-color wall poster, glossy photo, iron-on X-Wing and TIE Fighter, Skywalker decal and wallet photo, and a fan club embroidered patch, book cover, and a membership card. So there was a lot that you got for your money there, plus the quarterly newsletter.
That is pretty cool. There's
I would have wanted it. I mean, no doubt.
Yeah, I probably would have too. There was one other thing that I just popped into my mind that I forgot about. There was a phone number that you could call and hear side stories of Star Wars with like people acting out the characters. And I remember calling this and hearing different Star Wars stories, little side stories. They're only like a minute and a half, 2 minutes long. But it was like a little, like a little serial that they had on the side of, this was before, I think this was before, it might have been right around Empire Strikes Back. You guys probably don't remember that. That was, I wish I could figure out how you would hear any of those recordings. They got to be out there somewhere though, right?
Oh, I'm sure. Sure with some creative Google searching.
I remember there was like radio dramas and stuff, but some of the actual, like I'm sure Anthony Daniels did C-3PO, but like other people came in and did the main characters' voices. But that's the only kind of audio stuff I seem to recall. I don't think that's what you're talking about.
No, I don't think it was radio. Well, no, it wasn't radio drama because I remember it was actually on the phone. And I wonder if my parents end up paying per minute for something like that, like a 900 number at the time. Things were quite different on phone as far as phones go. It's a very vague memory, but I know it happened. Not like the holiday special that I was imagining.
So the question is, did you dial the number by yourself, or did you have parental consent?
I think I dialed it by myself.
Quite the rebel. So what about the Burger King glasses? Did you guys get into any of those?
I think we had them. I'm pretty sure we had them at one point. Unfortunately, like I said, over the years, everything has just disappeared through parents splitting or me moving, family moving, all that stuff.
I had some. The only one that really survived any length of time, though, was it had to have been Return of the Jedi, because I seem to remember a picture of Luke standing in kind of an awkward position, holding his lightsaber, and then the Emperor's throne was in the background. So it had to have been Jedi era.
Oh yeah, that sounds like it would have been a Jedi Cup. But I'm with you. I had a feeling.
Dave. It was no mere cup. It was a collector's glass.
You know what?
Wow.
I have to go get mine. I'm going to set the microphone down just for a second. I will be right back.
So this is similar to when we had the when I would say Phoebe Cates. It wasn't Phoebe Cates. It was Fabulous Phoebe Cates.
Exactly right. Yes.
I seem to remember that some of them never made it through the full cycle of the dishwasher.
Right.
I think they would last for a little while as long as they could, but after a few cycles in the dishwasher, they would kind of get damaged, and I think that's kind of how I had lost my collection.
So do you mean like the paint would chip off, or that the actual glass would break somehow?
It would actually break.
Oh wow.
Okay, I believe this is from the first one, A New Hope, because it looks like a picture of R2-D2 and C-3PO in like a desert setting like Tatooine, and it does not look like there's anything from Return of the Jedi where they had that same setting at one point. But trying to read the back of the glass, and it's hard without anything behind it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Try a little trick here.
Try pouring a beer in it, see if that gets a nice back.
Yeah, I do have a nice amber I could pour in there, I'm sure, because it's white letters. Working as a team, these two robots battle side by side with Luke, Han, Ben Kenobi, and Princess Leia in their struggle against the forces of the Galactic Empire. R2-D2, an information retrieval and computer repair robot, carries Princess Leia's plea for help to Ben Kenobi, and along with C-3PO, human-robot relations automation delivers the secret information concerning the Death Star to the rebel forces. So yeah, that's episode 1 or episode 4. Cool.
So once again they shaft Chewbacca. He gets no mention on the glass.
Yeah, and he was like, those two, Han and Chewbacca, were my favorite characters through all of the series, all the time.
I just need to mention Chewbacca and the Wookieism, the blatant Wookieism that's going on here, because when
blatant.
do you remember the last episode we talked about how come Chewbacca didn't get a medal in the movie? Remember that?
Yeah.
Right.
Uh-huh.
Yes.
Well, as I was explaining a minute ago, my daughter just read the novelization of the first book, which was actually written by George Lucas, which she schooled me on that. I thought someone else wrote the novelization, but George Lucas actually wrote the novelization of the first movie. And in it, Chewbacca gets a medal, and it goes into a little bit of detail, and it says that Leia basically had to step on her tiptoes to get the medal up around his neck.
Really?
Huh.
It's in the
All
book, not in the movie. Don't know why.
I think he gets overlooked because he's borderline pet.
Oh my God! You cannot say Chewie was a pet.
Well, I could see the misconception of how he would be perceived as like a pet.
Oh, okay.
I mean, just look at Mog in Spaceballs. Do we want to go into that direction?
What, Spaceballs? It's a spoof. That's stretching, I think.
You got to admit it was funny.
Oh yeah, it was.
I mean,
Yeah, it
Dark
was.
Helmet. Rick Moranis was hysterical. Ludicrous Speed.
Pizza the Hut.
Yeah.
Yeah.
May the Schwartz be with you.
Well, how about we talked about our favorite prize collectible, but how about the one thing you wanted but never got?
Oh, that's a good one. Yeah, probably. The big Millennium Falcon. That would have been mine. That I'm sure that would have been on my. Yeah, looking through the Christmas catalog and circle, but may not have gotten under the tree because of the dollar amount that it would have cost back then. So I'm sure that I know that was one that I wanted to have, but I never got.
I do not recall what I coveted at the time. We were a very fortunate family for the grandparents and the parents to buy just about all the Star Wars stuff that we wanted. I don't recall. If there was one, it would have been like I remember having the toy guns, the Han Solo gun, and the Stormtrooper gun, but I don't remember if there was Chewie's bowcaster or not. And if that was the case, if there was one, I would have probably wanted that.
Boy, that would have been sweet. I don't think they made a bowcaster toy. That would have certainly been it. Mine was the Walker, the AT-AT toy.
Yeah, that. You know what? We did not have that one. I think that was something pretty cool too. That was probably on my list of wants for sure.
As far as toys, not like as far as stuff that I knew I would never get because it was like hundreds of dollars. Though it would have been like an actual Stormtrooper helmet or a Boba Fett helmet or something like that. Those were for sale back then, but those weren't really toys.
No, those were already collectibles for that. Yeah, different. That was collectible and toy on a different level, right?
Now, one thing I want to ask you guys about. Do you remember anyway? Star Wars comic strips in the newspaper back during this time frame.
No, I do not.
Because I have a graphic novel compilation. I think it's called Classic Star Wars. Again, it probably was something I bought back around 95 or 96. And it's the first in a series of I don't know how many volumes. But as I recall, they're just collections of not comic books, but newspaper comic strips. And, I don't remember ever seeing those myself as a kid when they were running for the first time.
Yeah, I don't either.
Yeah, no, I don't.
I'm just curious. I should just Google this, but I just wonder if you guys knew, but like how long those things ran for, if they, when it, like in the beginning of Empire Strikes Back, when Han Solo makes reference to the bounty hunter on Ord Mantell, like, was that detailed somewhere, anywhere, ever? Is there a comic book or a comic strip or something? Because, there were spin-off novels about Han and Chewie. There was a trilogy of novels about him, but the two of them, and they didn't address that particular scene, so that stuff's got to be out there somewhere, right?
Yeah. I just don't, I don't recall hearing about that at all. That completely, didn't even hit my radar.
Then there was the novel, The Splinter of the Mind's Eye. Did either one of you ever read that?
Actually, I think I read that one. I read the expanded universe. I read some of the prequel type stuff, like the Han Solo trilogies. There were two of them, actually, two different trilogies. The one was the smaller one, where it all came in 3 stories in one book. That was the Splinter of the Mind's Eye, wasn't it?
No, Splinter of the Mind's Eye came out between Star Wars and Empire, and it mainly dealt with Luke and Leia, and they had a confrontation with Vader. And there were elements of the story that seemed eerily similar to things that later appeared in Empire Strikes Back. So I remember people being kind of, upset that Lucas, stole stuff from this guy's novel and put it into Empire.
Did he have licensing for that novel at the time?
I'm sure it had to have been. I mean, I don't know, but I'm sure it did. But yeah, you're right. There were 2 trilogies of Han Solo novels. There were the Brian Daley ones. There was Han Solo at Star's End and The Lost Legacy. And I can't remember the third one. And then there was like a whole other trilogy. But I don't know when the 2 different trilogies came out. And then there was a Lando Calrissian trilogy. But that was before they went completely haywire in the 90s and just started spewing out books like every day.
Oh, yeah.
This was when there was still a nice little small collection of books when it was manageable.
I read about 35 of them.
I have not read any of them.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Yeah. That first trilogy that came out right afterwards. I didn't know if we were going to get into this whole books, and I guess the books really were 90s, but for the most part.
Well, that expanded, I mean, they didn't call it the expanded universe until then, but back when the movies, the first trilogy was out, there were a few books that came out back then. That was before the concept of the expanded universe came around. Those are the ones I'm talking about.
I think the one that was like that came out back then was the first set of Han Solo, that trilogy of Han Solo that was the 3-in-1 book. And then the other trilogy that came out with Han Solo was the one that, once they started expanding in the 90s with, Timothy Zahn and a lot of those Kevin J. Anderson, a lot of those authors that sci-fi authors that I remember there being a couple out way back when. So it's all good Star Wars fun. That's all it is. Yeah. So what would you say what is the most unusual collectible that you guys either had at one point or still have?
Most unusual?
Yeah, like the one that's just like really quirky and like why would they even market that?
I can't even think of one.
Okay, I got one that I came across at a garage sale. Now remember that guy I mentioned earlier that is like the beyond the most Star Wars collectible dude I know of. This guy Joe. I ended up giving it to him because he didn't have this one thing in his collection, and it was a Darth Vader standing on top of like a section of the Death Star. Like it was way out of proportion, but it was a sprinkler. A yard sprinkler. Okay. And it's Darth Vader standing on top of this partial Death Star, and he had his arm out, and the water would squirt out of his arm. Like, I mean, it was the most bizarre thing I ever came across. I'm like, I have to buy this. It was like, I think I paid $3 for it at some garage sale, and I couldn't help because it was just so weird. I'm like, why in the world would they make a sprinkler out of Darth Vader?
Because they could.
Yeah, and somebody was going to buy it. Yeah. Well, that's one thing that they have gotten down to a science is the marketing of all the different stuff. Like you look around now, in the last year or two, they've really hit the market hard with like the new cereals and chips and all kinds of food stuff in Star Wars packaging. That I remember having that stuff back then too. They had the cereals that came out, pretty sure.
Well, something that was mainstay back in the 80s, and I would be remiss if I let this episode go by without actually giving it a talking about the video games. We not only did we have the video vector graphic games that were out there where you can fly your X-wing, but you also had some pretty cool Atari 2600 games.
The Empire Strikes Back game for the Atari 2600.
Yes. Awesome. Yes, the one where you were fighting the Imperial Walker.
Yep.
Oh my gosh. That was an awesome game.
Wasn't it?
Racking my brain. Yes, it was amazing. And you had to try to shoot underneath the head. That was like the sweet spot.
Right.
Like
right.
Right under in the sweet spot underneath its head.
There were a couple different spaces would start glowing, but I remember just cranking and beating the hell out of our joysticks and actually working up a sweat playing that game.
That was one of my favorite games. Oh my god, I would love to play that again.
I think all of us have owned this one. I loved that game. And you're right, I was like right underneath the neck. And I think you had to hit it a few times in order to get it right. So, but yeah,
that was Atari, right?
Game. Yes, Atari 2600.
And that's all it was. It was just an endless supply of walkers coming, and you had your snow speeder, and I mean, it was it. It just kept going until it beat you. There was no level 2 or level 3. It never changed, but it was just awesome.
Yeah, wouldn't it speed up though?
Yeah, it would speed up. And
yeah,
eventually grind you into dust. But yeah,
Yeah, you had to destroy it before it got across the screen or something like that, right?
Well, you could fly. It was like Defender. You could scroll left, right, and you could leave the screen and go fight the second and third walker if you wanted to. But if the first one made it to the energy shield, you lose. And it would, I don't know if there was even a way to beat it. I think it would always end with you losing. It was just a matter of how many points you could score.
It's the unbeatable video game. Maybe we need to get Billy Mitchell on the phone.
He'd figure it out.
That's awesome, dude. I totally forgot about that. Thank you so much for bringing that back up. That's a good one.
Now there was another one called Jedi Arena, which I didn't have, but did you guys play that one?
No, was that on Atari also?
Yeah, I'm just looking at the cover art for it, and it looks like it was something to do with, you're just moving the joystick around to your lightsaber.
Oh, yeah.
To fight the little ball that shoots at you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm looking at it now. There's actually on YouTube you can see there's some of the gameplay.
Oh, okay. But yeah, the Empire Strikes Back one was definitely the best one.
Oh, that was I played the heck out of that game. Man, I was racking my brain. I'm like, what Star Wars video games were there? I could not remember. I can't stop thinking about the ones that I got in, I think it was in the early 90s, for the PC, the X-Wing series and the TIE Fighter series. Played those like crazy.
Now, were those on the Apple?
No, those were actually PC.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, Dave, you were talking about the like vector graphic X-Wing coin-op game in the arcade. Wasn't there also one that had more traditional graphics where there were different scenes? I seem to remember a coin-op game where one of the scenes was involving the speeder bikes from Return of the Jedi, and then you if you were lucky enough to get through that scene, then the next scene would be, I want to say, you piloting the Falcon through the Death Star. It wasn't just the same thing over and over again. They had like different scenes. It wasn't a left to right, more top to bottom scroller. You guys know what I'm talking about?
Was it like
sounds familiar.
Like the Commando series or Commando video game where it went top to bottom? You would start at the bottom and
I mean, it was much faster paced, but yeah, it was that type of.
Yeah. Don't recall it. Looking for images now.
But as far as like you were asking about wacky collectibles that we have, the things that I have were toys of vehicles and things that were not actually in any of the movies, but they still made official toys of.
Nice.
I have 3. One of them is the Jawa Droid Factory, which is just like a big rectangular tan plastic thing, and it has all these droid pieces that you could actually stick together using these little plastic connectors.
And make your own droids. Yeah, I posted a video from YouTube on the 80's reboot
commercials. The old Kenner commercials?
Like 15 minutes of commercials, one after another. And Kenner made a killing back then. My goodness. But that one, actually, the Droid Factory was one of the commercials that are in there. It's towards like the last third of the commercials if you wanted to.
Okay. No, that thing was cool because you had all these wacky pieces. You could make all these goofy droids, and they also had the pieces where you could make an R2-D2 with the third leg in the middle too. And then there was a little like one-man tank. I think it was I don't remember if it was a Rebel tank or an Imperial tank, but the top of it kind of opened up like a Lamborghini in a way, and you put the soldier in there, and he would just kind of crouch down like in a lowrider driving position, and it was a little treaded tank with two cannons on the front.
I think I remember that one. I think we might have had that one too.
It was small, It
was small.
And then there was the other thing I have. This one's kind of cool. It's the gray rectangular Imperial. It was either a prisoner transport or a troop transport, and it had these
the troop transport.
6 pods on the side where you could put guys in there, and it had buttons around the top you could press so it would make sounds. Now the cool thing about that is in the Star Wars Rebels cartoon show that's currently on Disney XD, they actually put that toy into the story. Right? So even though it was never in any of the movies and they made a toy for it 30 some odd years ago, now they eventually found a place for it in the TV show, and they actually put it in there, and it looks just like the toy from 30 odd years ago. It's very cool.
Very awesome.
That's in that commercial series also that I posted.
What, Scott, you had the sprinkler?
Yeah, I had it for maybe 3 days because I gave it to that guy.
And then Dave, what was yours?
I would say the holiday or the Christmas album is probably the rarest thing that I have, which is so bizarre. It's just, for one, it's in a galaxy and it's a long time ago, so there wasn't even Christ to celebrate Christmas, which, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Galaxy far, far away. I don't know. It's almost ironic. It's just bizarre. So.
I know that they put Star Wars logo and on everything, but yeah, I'm racking my brain, and I don't think I ever had any of the oddball weird things. I had a lot of the main staples with the action figures, but I don't think I had anything that really is out of the norm, like a Darth Vader sprinkler.
How about the Lobot wraparound headphones?
No, I did not have those.
I don't know if they made them. They should, though. Sounds cool.
So I was trying to find that one video game you were talking about, and it's kind of like, it's from Return of the Jedi. It was in 1984 that they had this arcade game. It was Star Wars Return of the Jedi, and it is like, do you remember the name, or the video game Zaxxon?
Yeah, it's more like an angle scroller, right?
Yes, it's an angle scrolling thing, and it shows the Millennium Falcon chasing 2 TIE fighters. Not TIE fighters, but the ones with the pointed wings that went forward. What were those called? Those were something different than regular TIE fighters.
The Interceptors.
Yeah, TIE Interceptor, thank you. And it's chasing those 2 things, and it says destroy reactor. And it says it was a stand-up type arcade game. Oh yeah, here's another picture of it. Yeah, now I'm starting to remember it a little bit. I don't know if I played it much, but cool. Yeah, the world of Star Wars is so huge. I mean, we could go on all night talking about this stuff. I know, and we're not even like talking about specific movies like we did last week. With the three first episodes, we barely touched the surface of those. If we were to break them down each individually, it could take hours themselves.
Yeah, exactly. And there's so much more that was out in the 80s with the marketing, that came out with, as Empire Strikes Back came out and as Return of the Jedi came out. I mean, we talked about the, collector's cups, some of the video games and, the fan club, and that's just, and the action figures barely touching the surface. I mean, there was so much stuff that was coming out. I mean, bed sheets, that were...
that's right. Yeah, I was going to mention that. I had the sheets.
Lunch boxes, Yep. I mean, almost everyone, had one of those metal lunch boxes.
Yeah. Before, when this was the beginning age of videotapes and VCRs and stuff, my dad actually brought home a copy of a full-on bootleg copy of Empire Strikes Back. It was like all snow. It was like generation after generation after generation of recording, and it was really, really bad. You could hardly hear it. But he brought it home from work one day, and we sat and we watched that thing, even in the bad condition that it was in.
You guys remember? I don't know if this was just in the Chicago area, but this was back when cable TV was new. But there was a service called On TV.
We had On TV in California also.
Okay, so that was nationwide. All right, that was when with cable and pay TV service came the cheater boxes, right? So
right.
we had one, and I remember the big deal was On TV was going to broadcast Star Wars, and this is way before it was ever on like HBO or anything like that. Way before it was ever on commercial TV. And the thing was hilarious was our cheater box crapped out on us, and we couldn't get audio. So we could watch the movie on TV through our cheater box, but no audio. Well, it just so happened that one of the Chicago FM radio stations decided to simulcast it.
Nice.
So we were able to listen to it on the radio while we were watching the audio-less TV broadcast, and we thought that was the cat's meow, man. We were watching Star Wars through a cheater box, listening to a radio stereo simulcast.
Was that the Loop or something?
I don't know, probably.
Yeah, that'd be interesting to find out which radio station did that. It might have been even KMET at the time, or WMET.
Yeah, 95.5. Yep, could have been.
I think that was still around then, because I think that was mid '80s. Took a hike.
And Dave, you haven't talked about your Underoos collection.
Well, I mean, other than the pair that I'm wearing, I really don't remember having any. No, just kidding. No, actually, yeah, I didn't have any of the Underoos, but yeah, I knew they were out there. You could get the Luke Skywalker X-wing, set. So yeah, I'd be surprised if they had any Slave Leia Underoos.
Be in a different part of the shopping mall.
Exactly.
I'm pretty sure I have a couple of. Now they may not be scanned into a computer, but I think I have a couple of pictures of us either with Star Wars toys or wearing a Star Wars shirt or something from back in the mid to late '80s. I'm gonna see if I can. Mid '80s, early mid '80s. I don't know. I'll have to see if I can dig those up and maybe post them later.
Yeah.
I never did find the picture of me me and my cousin wearing the Mork from Ork suspenders though.
This was my 4th grade class picture. I had a T-shirt with a Stormtrooper iron-on that my grandmother had gotten for me, and we went to the store and watched them actually apply the iron-on to the shirt. That was like my favorite shirt for 2 years.
Wow, iron-ons.
Remember when you'd go pick out a T-shirt and then you'd go over there and then they'd have all the iron-ons?
Yes.
And they would do it right there in front of your eyes. And you'd take it home.
And it was pretty thick vinyl that they ironed on there too. I remember it was a little warmer or a little thicker in that part of the shirt. If I'm the right stuff.
All right, guys. I know that we could totally geek out on our 80s collectibles, forever, but I've got to cut it short. You guys got any parting thoughts for our Star Wars dialogue here? We'll start with Tim.
I'm going to go replace all my lost lightsabers with colored toothpicks.
Oh, that's perfect.
That's a good idea. I'm going to have to see if I can find somebody with an LP, with an album of, record player and listen to my holiday special again before Christmas. That's a parting thought.
For me, I am going to sit here and put my R2-D2 next to my R5-D4.
Ooh.
And
nice.
My assistant medical droid FX7, and just to see which one wins in a battle royale.
My money's on FX7. He's like the Swiss Army knife of droids.
Totally is. All right, so how do people find you on social media, Scott?
At Scott's Eye on Twitter or on Facebook at Scott Compton Photography.
Tim?
I'm on Facebook, and Twitter is TSW512.
Very cool. And once again, I am Dave, and I take care of our 80s Reboot Twitter account. So that's at 80s Reboot. We're also on Facebook, which is facebook.com/80s Reboot. Tumblr, 80sreboot.tumblr.com. And you can also email us at 80sreboot@gmail.com. And, of course, we have to end this with Happy Life Day.
Happy Life Day. I might have to bust it out and watch it again, too.
Oh, my God, please don't.
It's okay. I'll send some clips to you.
Oh, yeah, please do. No, it's okay. I already re-enjoyed that. Like I said the other day, and that is probably I shouldn't have. I tried. I really tried.
Hour and 20 minutes that you wish you had back.
Yeah, exactly. Because I said I fast forwarded past the music, right? So, and the funny part is, if you look for it on YouTube, you'll find the full TV show. But the cartoon itself is blocked out due to copyright. But if you do another YouTube search just for that cartoon, you'll find it.
Huh. Interesting.
Like a hacker, Dave.
Well, I got some mad Google skills, man. All right. So with that, good night, everybody.
Good night.
See ya.
Bye. We hope you've enjoyed this show. This podcast is part of the 80s Reboot Overdrive channel on Southgate Media Group. You can follow us on Facebook on the 80s Reboot group page. We're also on Twitter and Tumblr at 80s Reboot. We invite you to check out all the wonderful podcasts and blogs available at southgatemediagroup.com. And thank you for reliving the 80s.